Hey guys, yesterday I had a customer calling me. He wanted a light and travel friendly system. He already put his eyes on the Sony RX100 Mark VII. Despite being an avid Sony user myself and in love with the RX100 series, I ended up suggesting him two different alternatives, and this is why. And yes, it is true that I am a Sony user, and I have to be honest, I am in love with the RX100 system. It's such a beautiful, small, little compact housing system, and I've had several of those cameras. But there are new cameras out there. One of them could be the Nikon Z50 Mark II that goes into this housing, or the Canon R50 that goes into that housing. And as you can see, these are quite alike. They both look like Pro versions, like the RX100. It's called a Pro version when it's the housing, a tray, brackets, a trigger, and a vacuum system. That's what determines that it's a Pro system from Nauticam. And if you buy the Pro system, you will save a little money and get something that equals free tray or something like that. But listen, let's have a look at these two housing systems. As you can see, they are very much alike size-wise. The Nikon is a little bit thicker and slightly more expensive. Apart from the RX100 that has the square lens, these have the fixed bayonet system, and the port is also fixed, and that means that you have to use either on the Nikon you have to use the 16 to 50 millimeter, and on the Canon you have to use the 18 to 45 millimeter. The beauty of those two lenses and the focal width of them is that you can use the WWL wide angle on the wide setting, and you can use a macro lens on the zoom on the tele setting. So that's the WWL, and this would fit straight onto the housing here, as you can see. And here we have the MFO lens sitting in the bayonet system. All you have to do is mount it on here, and then you have macro once you have zoomed in. So that's why these two housings are very much versatile, more versatile than the RX100, because there you have to use the flip system for the macro, and the widest width you can get is 28 millimeter, whereas you have 130 degree width on the WWL system. So much more versatile systems, but the thing is you cannot take off the lens. So if it's a fixed lens, how does it look inside? Inside there is a fixed gear system, zoom system here, right? So this one can't be taken out. That means that once you have the kit lens sitting on the camera, go straight in here, and then you just use it as it is, and you can't put in another lens on there. So that's why it looks and feels like a real compact system, even though it's a mirrorless APS-C system. And having said APS-C system, that is actually the size of the chip sitting in these cameras, which is a lot larger than the 1-inch chip that sits in the RX100. When you have a larger chip, you have much larger pixels and more light sensitive pixels. So these two systems here are more light sensitive than the Sony version. They are also, you can say, better when it comes to focus, because they have the same focus tracking system. You can find something and you can track it, and the camera will stay on the subject once you hold the button. But these are also faster when you just use the autofocus. Plus, they use 90% of the picture square, the picture format, to use for focus, whereas the Sony only uses 60, 65, 68 something. And because they are more light sensitive, they will focus in darker water, which is great for underwater cameras, that the focus system doesn't go berserk once you get into a little bit dark and murky water. So that's good, that's good. But as you can see, the cameras are really much alike. The thing is here that the Nikon is thicker, more expensive, and I don't know if you've noticed, it's not really a Pro version. It's actually a fixed housing with the trigger sitting on the camera housing. Whereas the Canon, you have a trigger system just like you have on the Sony. It doesn't matter much, you don't really notice it, but what you do notice is that there's a vacuum system on the Canon, there is no vacuum system on the Nikon, and so that is actually the hidden expense. You have to buy a vacuum system on top of the housing when you want to go for the Nikon version. There's already a system in here, so you just turn it on and off, and then the vacuum system will function. So that's easy to solve. You just need to mount it in there, and as you can see here, the bayonet system also already sits on, so you can just mount anything you really like here. When it comes to light sensitivity, these housings are better, but also you have to look at the video possibilities, because these housings do have better bitrate, better codecs. The rolling shutter is a lot better on these ones here. Besides, you have focus peaking, Zebra, other video tools, and you can use the C-Log on the Canon at least. I'm pretty sure they're similar for the Nikon. You can go for lock 3 on the Sony as far as I know, but I'm sure it's a better lock system on these ones simply because the chip is larger, okay? So there is also more power in them. They have a lot more buffer. So if you need to do photogrammetry, I would never do that on. The compact system doesn't have the ability to shoot many pictures in a row and store them. The buffer of a camera is what keeps all that information until it's been stored on the memory card, and the buffer in these two cameras are a lot larger than on the Sony. So again, with photogrammetry, we have to take a lot of pictures. These would be usable. That's definitely something that's important to look at. Let's go back and see here. Yeah. Overall, the weight of these two systems a little bit similar. I think it's about 1,100 grams for the Sony. The Canon is 1,800 grams-ish, and I think the Nikon is 1,900. So you return about 800 grams in difference of the two system as is. So I will refuse to believe that it's the kilo in between in difference that would ruin everything for you here. The cameras are pretty much the same price. If you look at the Sony, it's quite expensive. If you go for the cameras for these two other housing systems and the kit lens, you have to remember you need to put the lens on top of it. The price is the same, or they're actually even cheaper, but then the housing again are a little bit more expensive. So overall, I do not see a big cost difference in choosing either of these three systems. They all work with the flash, and they are able to, here you can see you can mount an optical fiber optic cable and use your flash on top of it. And that's basically it. So I got a call from my customer earlier today, and he decided to go for the Nikon. His reason was that he was previously a Nikon photographer, and that's why he chose a Nikon, but it could as well have been the Canon. Which one you would choose, I don't know, but any of these two new housing babies could possibly be a new future housing.